Okay, let's pull back the curtain on one of the most misunderstood departments in any company. I'm talking about human resources. On the surface, the job title seems so straightforward, but what does it really mean to work in HR? Let's dive in.
It all starts so simply, doesn't it? My official title is HR. Just 2 letters, HR. It sounds so official, maybe even a little dry. You know, that's the title you see on the org chart. But trust me, that's just the cover of a much, much more interesting book. I mean, if you've ever worked in an office, you know there's always more going on than what you see on the surface. So what are the secret lives hidden behind those 2 simple letters? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
So our investigation really begins by just ripping apart the job description. Because it turns out that human resources manager isn't really one job. It's more like 4 jobs, all happening at the exact same time.
So this is the reality of HR. It's not one single thing. It's a constant juggling act. The job is really a perfect 4-way split between being a firefighter, a therapist, a mediator, and a translator. So what does that actually look like day to day? Let's break each one down.
First up, the firefighter. And no, we're not talking about actual flames here. The fires in an office are a totally different kind of emergency. And the HR firefighter has this very unique skill. They put them out with absolutely no water, just pure skill and diplomacy.
We're talking about those sudden, totally unexpected blow-ups. A project completely derails, a personality clash just ignites. That's when the HR alarm bells start ringing. They have to jump in and manage the crisis. But once the fire's out, you've got all the emotional smoke and damage left over, and that requires a completely different skill set. Which leads us right to the next role, the therapist. You know, all of the emotional labor, just none of the clinical furniture. It's an absolutely crucial role, though, providing a space where employees can feel like they're actually being heard. And this is so much more than just nodding along. It's about actively listening to people's frustrations, their anxieties, their workplace conflicts, and then helping them navigate these incredibly complex feelings. But, you know, sometimes it's not just one person's feelings, it's 2 people in direct opposition.
And that's when HR has to become the mediator. When you've got 2 people or even 2 teams at a total standstill, HR has to step right into the middle. The tricky part is they don't have the authority of a judge. There's no gavel to bang to restore order. All they have are their powers of persuasion.
The entire goal is just to de-escalate everything and find that one tiny sliver of common ground. It really is the art of finding a win-win when it feels like a total lose-lose situation. You're building bridges where there used to be walls. And to do that, it often comes down to one really crucial skill. You have to speak everyone's language. Which leads us to the final and maybe the most critical role of all, the translator. Because let's be real, leadership and employees often speak completely different languages. One speaks in KPIs and strategic imperatives. The other speaks in day-to-day realities and personal concerns. HR is right in the middle.
Okay, so we've got our 4 identities. But how do they all possibly fit into a single workday? Well, it's not really a balancing act. It's a lot more like living in a multiverse.
This quote from our source just captures that feeling perfectly. It's not about switching roles from day to day or even week to week. We're talking hour to hour, minute to minute.
So let's just map this onto a single day. You might start your morning at 9 a.m. as a firefighter, dealing with some sudden crisis. But that's immediately followed at 11 by an impromptu therapy session with an employee who's really struggling. After lunch, maybe you're mediating a tense dispute between 2 departments, only to finish the day translating a super dense corporate policy for the whole company. The context switching is just relentless. So you see this huge contrast, right? On paper, the job is human resources manager, but in reality, it's a constant whirlwind of putting out fires, being a therapist, mediating disputes, and translating corporate speak. The official title just feels, well, it feels totally inadequate.
Which brings us to our final big idea, the miracle worker mandate. If the official title just doesn't work, then what does? We need a title that actually captures the incredible scope of this job.
I absolutely love this analogy. It's funny for sure, but it also gets at a really deep truth. The stakes in HR can feel that high sometimes, like you're negotiating peace treaties between warring factions in the office, all fueled by slightly better than average coffee.
And being that peacekeeper, it requires true multilingualism. You're not just switching between human languages, you're navigating entirely different worlds. One minute you're deep in C-suite strategy,
The next, you're decoding the unspoken politics of the coffee break, all while trying to understand complex legalese and the very real human grievances of your employees.
And that really brings us to the heart of it all. This is the unofficial job title that our source says is probably the most accurate one. It captures the impossible tightropes they have to walk and the daily magic they have to perform just to keep the whole machine running smoothly.
So, I'll just leave you with this. After seeing the daily fires, the therapy sessions, the mediations, and the translations, is miracle worker actually a more fitting description? It's something to consider the next time you walk past the HR department. That's all for this explainer.